Hello, Las Vegas. We're back live from the Engadget stage at CES 2016. Alas, this is the final episode of After Hours.
Wah, wah.
But, and don't worry, I'm going to introduce y'all. But first, I think we should all have a little cheers.
Cheers. And what are we drinking,
Cheers.
Michael?
So this is a Luc Belaire French sparkling rosé.
Fine wine.
And it's actually kind of an interesting thing. The company actually is funding crowdfunding projects. So if you want a little bubbly and a little hashtag Belaire backed.
Okay.
As in,
Yeah. There you
backed
go.
on not a Kickstarter. I don't know. I don't know where they are.
Indiegogo.
Maybe.
Yeah, anything, any of the above. They'll back you anywhere you got to go. So let me introduce who is joining me on stage in this toast. We have, of course, executive editor Christopher Trout. How are you doing, Christopher?
Cheers, queers.
Yes. And then you may recognize the woman sitting next to him from the video. That's Suki Dunham. Thank you for joining us, Suki.
She's
Thank
the
you.
founder of Oh My Bod.
Yes. And then, last but certainly not least, Mallory Johns,
Hello, everyone.
social media maven. She makes everything happen in Engadget.
I was doing actually a Periscope shortly before to get some user questions.
So, let's talk sex at CES.
Sure. So we brought you here because we wanted to talk a little bit about what it's been like for you guys at CES this year. Can you tell us a little bit about what the reception's been like for Oh My Bod and Love Life Crush?
It's actually been really fabulous. So this is our 6th year here at CES. Our first year here was a little different than this year. Our first year, people would walk by us and kind of look at us cross-eyed, like, "What are you doing here?" And now we are welcome with open arms, and people are really interested in what we're doing and are understanding our messaging and what we're all about. We've always been about where sex and tech come together. And so, yeah, it's been a really positive show.
Yeah, and it's clear that there's, that's expanding. I think what we were talking about when we shot the video was that when you came here for the first time, you were probably one of the only sex-related tech companies. And it wasn't necessarily the easiest thing getting in the beginning, right?
No, it wasn't actually. We signed up for a booth and were kind of rejected, and so we had to lobby to prove that we had a right to be here and that we had some legitimate tech that was interesting. And we all know that this technology, all these technologies are becoming, a part of every part of our lifestyle,
Right.
whether you listen to music or you're cooking or whatever it is you're doing in your world. And so why not sex be part of that?
So, so how many years ago was the first time that you came, when you had the problems? How
It
long ago
was 2010.
So, between now and then, obviously you said the reception's much different. What changed? Like, how did that manifest?
I think part of it is society in general. I think as social stigmas kind of melt away, we've had the opportunity to really have open dialogue and discussion. I think a lot of it is also centered around kind of female empowerment. I think, historically we've talked a lot about men and men's pleasure, and now it's time for us ladies to address what we need and what we want and what makes a healthy life for us, right?
Right on.
Truth.
And what's interesting about that and what you can see in the video is that most of the companies that we talked to about these sex-related devices that are at CES were female-run companies. So, I mean, that was the most striking thing to me. The only company that we talked to that had more men in the room than women was the porn company, which
Shocking, right?
right. But have you ever experienced VR porn? Have you done that?
Actually, we do a trade show that's actually an adult trade show every year in Europe. And in Germany this year, I walked around the trade show floor and there was a booth there in Europe. And so I put those goggles on or the Oculus Rift on and looked around, and it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's an intense experience.
It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah, it's an uncomfortable one when you're being filmed and you're surrounded by coworkers and strangers. But yeah, it's intense.
So I'm interested to know, did you, when you were at the conference, was it a 360 experience? Could you
Yes.
turn all the way around?
Yeah, you could turn all the way around. The girls were actually walking into the door when I turned around.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know, I've seen a bunch of this stuff at this point, and most of it's shot in 180, I think as a result of people trying to churn stuff out quickly, but
Right.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, I turned all the way around and I was like, holy crap.
So Suki, I want to kind of rewind back a bit here to go back to kind of your journey through CES and getting here. And we were talking a little bit about this backstage, how your experience at CES has changed, has shifted kind of with the acceptance of your products and your place here at the show. So can you talk a little bit about what that's been like, what it's entails, and what you think CES can mean for you next year and beyond?
Yeah, I think that, you know, at the beginning, we were just here to start to get our messaging out and to show that sex tech is a legitimate category. I think sometimes when anybody adds sex to what they do, people kind of give it a lesser standing. It's like it's not as legitimate as an electric car or whatever the technology is. And so by being here, we wanted people to understand and start to legitimize what we were doing, really kind of stand up for ourselves. And now people walking by our booth, they understand what we're doing. And this year's been really exciting because we now have like real consumer electronics buyers that are now saying, this makes sense. It's part of somebody's intimate lifestyle, and why not address it? Why not have a product that addresses that customer need?
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
So I've got one last follow-up for you here. So if you so let's say there's someone watching at home that has some sex technology that they're looking to get into the industry. What advice would you give those people to kind of work your way in? Since you have already kind of paved the way, is there anything out there, any advice you can give those folks?
I would say that what we found, or at least the way we run our business, I run this business with my husband, is that that you build a product because you're solving a problem or that there's a need there. You guys, I think, have been talking a lot about there's a lot of tech just for tech.
Yeah.
And same goes for actually traditionally in the adult pleasure products world. People would enter it because they think, oh, well, it's sex, so sex sells and it's a lot of money. But it's no different than any other startup or small business. Just because it's a sex product doesn't mean that, the money's just raining from the sky. It takes a lot of work, and that people should be ready for what it takes to get a company off the ground.
Yeah, and especially a sex company, because we talked about this the other day. I've worked in the adult industry previously, and you run into a lot more problems than maybe you'd expect, right? Like
That's
finding
true.
people to take your money even, or to print your flyers, or any of that.
Right. So we've run into problems over time. We've had problems raising money, financing, just even normal bank financing. You want to go to your bank, the SBA, the Small Business Administration, won't back a loan to what they call a sex company. Or actually, they use the word prurient business, which I had to look up because I didn't know that term.
So that's a legal term.
Yeah.
Says the lawyer over here.
Yeah. I read a lot about that in law school.
And we've had accountants, bean counters, that didn't want to do our bean counting for us because of what we do. We've had printing companies that don't want to print our instruction manual, which is very much hey, this is how you turn it off and on, not how you use
Pretty
it.
PG stuff, right?
Oh, way
G.
lower than PG, like G.
G-rated.
Like, this is how you turn it on, this is how you plug it in, don't electrocute yourself, whatever.
Well, maybe if you called it a back massager like Hitachi did,
Right, exactly.
it would be a different thing. So, are we into social media territory at this point?
We can. Do we have
I've
any
just been
questions?
reviewing our Periscope stream to find some great questions.
Okay.
One of the first ones that popped up was, how do you think that virtual reality is progressing in the world of sex tech?
You want to take that one, or you want us to?
Yeah, you guys have seen it, so.
Well, here's the deal. I think, I did a story on this. I went to kink.com and watched them shoot a scene, and also then watched it over lunch with them, which was an awkward experience. But I think the thing is that it can take you to places that you wouldn't normally be able to go as a human being. So I'm going to get a little graphic here, but in this case, there was some extreme anal action that I saw. You were actually almost transported into somebody's butt, like inside
Wow.
it. It felt as if you were the whole human inside
Inner
another
space.
human being's rear,
Yeah.
so to speak.
I think that definitely answers that
Yeah.
question.
And there's one other thing that I want to add too. There's actually a significant barrier right now, I think, for wider spread adoption, and that's just so for right now, like what I saw with Naughty America, they've got a Gear VR, and that means you've got to load the movie onto your phone. There is no way, they don't have distribution through Samsung or anything like that, so you have to kind of sideload these things, and the files are huge.
They're like
It's
6 gigs.
Yeah, 4 to 6 gigs right now, so that means you're not keeping many of them on a memory card at one time or on your phone. It'll suck up all the memory that you've got. And of course, downloading files that size take a long time. So I think that's a big kind of barrier right now that has yet to be figured out. Like, there's no streaming service that's going to work with that.
Yeah.
So this is just like a completely left field idea. So we need like a Snapchat for VR porn then. Some kind of ephemeral content that won't take up any space on your phone.
Not a bad idea, Mallory. I think we might have struck on a new $1 million idea.
Yeah, she's going to be
I will
out.
cheers
She's not
to
going to be our
that.
social media anymore.
Cheers.
There was another really good question that popped up. Let me see if I can get to it.
Okay. By the way,
Scroll
Christopher, did you
back.
notice my socks? These are my special after-hours socks.
Oh, nice. You got
Cocktail
cocktails
socks.
on them,
I
huh?
like that.
I got these boring zebra socks on. Lame.
You know, I've always had tighter sock game than you.
There was a really great question about,
about that.
dopamine resistance in terms of VR porn.
Dopamine resistance.
Yeah, so
Can you define dopamine resistance?
I mean,
so
I know, like, you
does
could-
VR porn kind of create the
Overload?
same dopamine effect that you get
Oh.
when you're having an actual sexual act?
I don't know. I mean, it certainly didn't for me when I was watching it
Or did
yesterday.
you
I
feel
mean,
the same
here's
type of
the deal. I will say that
With
I've
all
used
your
it for...
your
I've
colleagues
used it
around
in
you.
private, and I don't know. I mean, it's the same experience as watching regular pornography in a lot of ways. I mean, in the human sort of body way, right?
Okay.
I think when you're talking about the mind and where your mind goes with it, it's a little bit different. It wasn't like an more intense orgasm or anything like that, but it was, it was a different experience for
Okay.
sure.
I think that's what our reader was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Okay.
If the dopamine receptors were twice as high
Right.
Yeah.
with virtual as opposed to real life.
A particularly scientific way to put that question.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say anecdotally, no. How's that?
I'm very impressed with our readers for
Yeah.
submitting a question like
We have
that.
Yeah,
very
very
well-read
mature.
readers.
Yeah.
We got any more in there?
A lot of people want to know about apps and remote-controlled orgasms. I know if you were discussing that with your Kegel app.
Do you wanna
Yeah,
talk about that a
so
bit?
when we launched, we actually have a product that sits on the market today. It's called Blue Motion, so it's a Bluetooth-enabled vibe, and you can connect with your partner remotely. And so if you're here and I'm in New York, like I said, you can control it remotely. And the new Tazzle app that we have that works with Love Life Crush, it's going to work with an entire line of products that will come out roughly at the same time, including like a wearable panty vibe to a G-spot vibrator, and you'll be able to control it remotely as well. And we're adding a lot of fun things to this. It's kind of that goes beyond that. I think I was telling you guys yesterday, the whole idea around Tazzle, the art and science of love, is about keeping intimacy kind of at the forefront of your mind. So if you think about other tech, it's meant to say keep fitness at the top of your mind. Oh, I need to walk this many steps, or I need to watch what I'm eating because I've recorded that I've eaten so many calories today, whatever. And so Tazzle is going to be about keeping intimacy kind of at the forefront, because we all get really busy with our lives and sometimes forget our partners. And I run this company with my husband, and we've been together for 28 years.
Cheers.
So,
Wow. Congrats.
cheers to that, actually. Cheers.
That is
Cheers to
quite the
that.
feat.
Yeah, And so we're developing an app that will help to keep couples and people that want to be connected, engaged with one another. So it might be something as simple as, I challenge you to cuddle me tonight for 1 hour without your phone anywhere near you. And then the other thing might be that I challenge you to have outdoor sex with me. So, you know, the whole idea of having these kind of different levels of intimacy and just like reminding one another of why you really like one another and being connected.
Yeah, the gamification of your sex life, basically.
Exactly. Of intimacy.
And we should all be able to get down with that. It's good to pay more attention to your partners. We should all be doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Truth.
Yeah.
True dat.
All right, and on that note, that's all the time that we have for. Thank you all for joining us. There is more to come from Engadget tomorrow, but that's all we've got for today. So thanks, guys.
Cheers.
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 Thanks, guys.